Alright guys, this is Snowy here, and we're going to be looking at the NHL playoffs for the 2015-2016 season. I'll be looking at each team and checking out their strengths and weaknesses to see which one will be coming out on top. So the first ones we'll be looking at will be the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild. Alright, so from what I can tell from this season, Dallas has really surprised me. They're actually at the top of the conference compared to Chicago or Anaheim. Minnesota's in their usual spot, 8th place, usual at the bottom. And we'll be looking at each team to see which one will be advancing. So with Dallas, their main strength here is pretty much their offense, as I can see throughout the season. Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, they're pretty much at the top of the scoring. Really, really good players at the very top. When it comes to Minnesota, they have their usual defensive skills. Mika Koivu has been really good this season, along with Ryan Suter. I think they might be able to go far, but we have to look into their strengths first. So with Dallas, as I said, their best ability would be scoring. One of their main weaknesses would be defense, but with pretty much the two top scorers, along with Jason Spezza coming in midway through the season, I think they might be able to constantly score throughout each of the games, unless Minnesota really steps up their game. For Minnesota's strengths, I would say that they would be best at their defense, pretty much how they're pretty much based on, along with their goaltending, which I've seen throughout the season. If they really want to win this, they'll have to pretty much play lockdown defense throughout the entire first round with Dallas. Pretty much not letting Jamie Benn or Tyler Seguin or anyone of the top forwards try to get too many opportunities in the beginning. What I think first is that if I were going to make a prediction here, I would say even though Minnesota has their good defense, I'll take the Dallas Stars within about 6 games. Alright, for the next matchup, we have the St. Louis Blues against the Chicago Blackhawks. St. Louis is pretty much at the top in this matchup, having home ice advantage for the first round. For this matchup, I think it's going to be a pretty tight one. You have two very physical defensive teams, high-scoring offense on Chicago's side, plus the very good goaltending from St. Louis. But I don't know, when it comes to St. Louis, yeah, they've been failing for years and years. But let's see the matchup here. So with Chicago, we know their top-tier offense with Marian Hossa, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, American Sniper, the usual. When it comes to St. Louis, they have the strong defensive presence of their best blue liners, and their goaltending, I think, is pretty top-notch. Also, to go along with Tarasenko, I think he's pretty much in the top tier as well. Now, how Chicago is going to win this, I usually think would be that they're be using their offense, so pretty much just straight up scoring against St. Louis. Whenever they get the opportunity, they're just going to take it, and if they do that, they're going to pretty much advance in a very easy fashion. If St. Louis wants to win this, they're going to have to get out of their little mentality of always losing in the first round. They've had the best teams for years. They're pretty much the San Jose of the West once again. If they want to get through this, they have to pretty much play lockdown defense against the top stars of Chicago. Make sure that they always play a disciplined game and don't play to Chicago's style. Overall, what I'm going to think for this series is that if they're going to go for a very defensive game, and I'm pretty sure Chicago's going to take it within 4-1 games, so 5-game series. Even though I'm trying to believe in St. Louis, I don't think they're going to go very far against Chicago. Alright, so next up we got a pretty good matchup between Anaheim and Nashville. These are two very good teams, pretty much very tanky teams that can dish out a lot of hits, very physical. From what I've seen this season, I'm thinking Anaheim is pretty much got the edge in this matchup. Most of their offense, they turned it around since the beginning of the season. They couldn't even score a single goal. So I think for this matchup, it's really going to depend on the superstars from each team. Looking into Nashville's side, to begin it, with Nashville, they have a lot of defense. Shea Weber, the best player on the team, and they have Pekka Rinne in the back. I'm pretty sure he can defend most of the onslaught from Anaheim. They pretty much have to depend on him for the most part if they want to get anywhere in this. When it comes to Anaheim, on the other hand, their goaltending is not as great compared to Nashville. They don't have a superstar goalie from Finland, the usual. But when it comes to their offense, I'm pretty sure Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry can step setup when it comes to this matchup. So when I'm thinking about this, for Anaheim to win, they'll pretty much have to depend on their scoring. Make sure that they protect their goalie. Don't allow him to get into situations where he's just by himself. Leave him out to dry. And for Nashville, if they want to win, they'll pretty much have to play a very disciplined game. Make sure that they capitalize on every opportunity, take advantage of their goalie, and then defend Pecorine when they have the chance. When it comes down to it, even though I'm seeing Nashville playing a very good series, I'm still picking Anaheim to take the series 4-2 in 6 games. All right, and for the last matchup in the Western Conference quarterfinals, we have LA and San Jose. Pretty much my favorite matchup for this first round. These are two of my favorite teams to see when it comes to playoff action. San Jose for one part because they just cannot win when it comes to playoffs, and it's very hilarious. And for LA, they just pretty much shift the gear when it comes to this time. Now, this matchup is pretty much going to be depending on a very strong goalie matchup, very strong defensive play, and pretty much whoever scores first, I'm thinking, is going to take each game when it comes to this. For LA to win, I'm pretty sure they have to depend on, youth, experience. They've been in the playoffs. They've been to the Stanley Cup Finals multiple times and won it. They know what to do in this situation. So pretty much just play the same way they do, step it up, and they'll pretty much take this very easy. For San Jose, I think they have to pretty much change their mindset entirely when it comes to this. Every time when it comes to the playoffs, they've been losing. They don't know how to step it up when it comes to important game times. It's really going to depend on Joe Thornton if he can dish it out, make sure he plays his best because he is getting up there in age. If he can't take it now, I don't think he's ever going to take it at all. So pretty much they're going to have to depend on very strong offensive play, disciplined, make sure they score on top of LA before they can have a chance to come back, and they're able to take it. For these matchups, I'm pretty sure it's a difficult one. I'm thinking that it's going to be San Jose in 7 games. It's going to be a very tough series if they want to pull it out, but if they can do it, it's going to take a very long series, 7 games for it. All right, so next up we have the Eastern Conference matchups. In my opinion, I think these games are going to be pretty much the fastest games out of all of them. As you know, Eastern Conference is pretty much straight out all offense, hardly any defense when it comes to it. And first matchup is going to be between Pittsburgh and the New York Rangers. So between these two, I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh has got this one in the bag. When it comes to the playoff, they've been struggling over the past few years, but this season, it seems like they have pretty much changed of pace. Sidney Crosby is back into his form. He's scoring a lot more goals, getting easy assists. And I'm thinking with the help of Phil Kessel, he should be able to go far in this series. When it comes to the Rangers, they've been dealing with some injuries. Some of their players haven't been into it lately, and with Eric Stahl traveling over, he's been injured as well. So they're losing a lot of help when it comes to a big matchup against Pittsburgh. In my opinion, I'm thinking this matchup is going to be one of the best series out of the Eastern Conference. For the quarterfinals, these are two very strong teams, and when it comes to it, they're all offense, very good defense, and their goaltenders are pretty much the best in their conference, aside from Carey Price, but he's not there. So for this matchup, I'm thinking that Pittsburgh, in order for them to win, they're going to have to pretty much depend on playing defense, always backing up Fleury. New York Rangers have a lot of strong power forwards, and they can capitalize with it very easily. And for them, I'm thinking they just have to depend on their main superstars. Hopefully Malkin and Crosby can get them through this. For the Rangers, I'm thinking that, they can get pretty far either way. For them, they have to depend on their defense, have Ryan McDonough shut down Crosby and Malkin. Don't allow them to play their game when it comes to the offensive zone. And for Henrik Lundqvist to actually step it up when it comes to it. He can go very far, but if he's not there mentally, he's pretty much going to get knocked out in the first round. So, in my opinion, for this matchup, I'm predicting Pittsburgh to take the series in 7 games. It's going to be a hard-fought series with two very good goaltenders, but I'm sure that Pittsburgh will make it out on top. All right, so our next Eastern Conference matchup is between Tampa Bay Lightning and Detroit Red Wings. For this matchup, I'm seeing it's going to be very one-sided. Due to some things that happened during the regular season with Detroit's leadership and Tampa Bay actually getting some injuries, it may change, but I'm predicting Tampa Bay to get a good boost out of this. So for these two teams, they're very offensive teams. Depending on Stamkos, Datsuk of those legs, very high scoring players. When it comes to Tampa Bay, they're very strong, very good leadership teams. And for this, I'm predicting them to go very far. So for Tampa Bay to actually win this game or this series, they have to depend on other players because Steven Stamkos is not going to be there due to the blood clot injury. So they're going to have to depending on the likes of other players, such as Druin, who's actually come up from the minors. He's playing out of his mind right now. So I'm thinking he's going to be a very good factor when it comes to this. For Detroit, I think, well, congrats on them for actually making the playoffs for, 25th straight year. It's older than me. For them, they'll have to depend on the likes of their young guns, see if they can actually depend. It's going to be playoff experience for them for the most part. I'm thinking for them to actually win this, their goaltending has to be at the very best. Their defense has to be locked down for Tampa Bay's scoring lines. They're going to have to depend on their leaders, Datsuk and Zetterberg, to see if they can push them through, see if they can get them to the next round of playoffs. So for this round, I'm predicting Detroit. Even though they're a very good team, very solid throughout the regular season, I don't think they're going to have the energy to get through Tampa Bay. I'm predicting a first round sweep with Tampa, 4 games. All right, so we have the next matchup between the Florida Panthers and the New York Islanders. For this matchup, I'm thinking it's going to be a very decisive game between the goaltending. Roberto Luongo has come back and surprised me really with his play with the Florida Panthers. Honestly, I thought they weren't going to go far, but Jaromir Jagr has been playing out of his mind along with Luongo. So I think they might be able to go far, along with the young guns that they have coming up like Huberdeau. For the Islanders, they're starting to get up there and start in terms of playoff strength. I think they're a very strong contender. They might be able to advance the next round. Depends on how they play against the Florida Panthers here. So for the strengths with each team, I'm thinking Florida. Their veteran experience, first of all, it's going to come through when it comes to the playoffs. I think that's going to give them an edge. If Jagr is able to play as well as he did during the regular season, and if Luongo is able to step up his game as usual in the playoffs, then they should be able to play very easily against the New York Islanders. For the Isles, I'm thinking Jonathan Tavares is going to play very well. He's going to have to get most of his opportunities against Luongo whenever he has the chance, as well as Oposo. If he's a strong power forward, he's going to have to find his way inside the net and try and disrupt the defense on the Florida Panthers side. So for this matchup, I'm deciding that it's going to be a very close series. I'm going to think Florida is going to take it overall. Overall, their experience is going to be able to push them over the top and allow them to get to the next round. So Florida in 6 games. All right, so we got the final matchup between the Washington Capitals and the Philadelphia Flyers. Washington Caps had a very good season at pretty much the top of the entire NHL, winning the President's Trophy. And for the Philadelphia Flyers, they just barely got in my opinion. For this matchup, I think it's going to be kind of a close one because Philadelphia has been trying to push themselves as hard as they can, so they're pretty much in playoff mode when it comes to this. And for Washington, they're coming off their big season, Ovechkin 50-goal season, along with Holtby tying up with Martin Brodeur. So I guess they're going to be celebrating those, but when it comes to the playoffs, they're going to be trying to step it up at the very end. So for Philadelphia to come out and actually win this matchup, which is heavily favored for Washington, I think they have to play very locked down defensively. Their goaltending is not as good as compared to Washington, along with their defense. They have surprising offense coming from their defensive end, but for this matchup, they're going to have to shut down Ovechkin by locking him down at every opportunity, having someone on him at every moment, and pretty much not allowing anyone to get any rushes off on top of the Philadelphia Flyers. For Washington, in order for them to win, they're just going to have to depend on their offensive superstars. Holtby's going to play very well. Knowing him, he's very good in the playoffs when it comes to these moments. He's been tested along with New York Rangers over the years, so I'm pretty sure he should be able to keep himself locked down for this series. They'll have to depend on Ovechkin and Backstrom and most of their offensive stars. If they're able to score, they'll be able to push through with this very easily and get to the next round. For this matchup, even though Philadelphia they haven't been playing too well to come into the playoffs, I believe they're going to push very hard against the Washington Capitals, who are celebrating from their President's Trophy win. And this will go to a 6-game series with Washington taking it 4-2. And that's it. We're wrapping up the first round of the playoffs. Those are my predictions for the first round to see who will make it on top. And eventual Stanley Cup winner will be predicted in our next video. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.